There is no red, white, or blue in this country. The only color that matters is green, because we live in the United Corporations of America.
Hey guys, Zeynab Day here. I will be covering for Jordan today. He is doing some interviews and other things, so it'll be me and you all today. Today we'll be talking about the disastrous State of the Union address, which I am sure you guys, some of you guys watched it last night. For those who didn't, we suffered through it for you. So we can fill you in on all the insanity from the night. I will say that the State of the Union was your stereotypical boilerplate Donald Trump isms. You know, he touched on immigration, he touched on DOGE, he touched on a lot of falsehoods. Most of it was falsehood, so we're not going to be able to fact check everything he said, because that would take us several hours. But we will get into some of the highlights and some of the responses that we saw online, and some of the things that were big sort of red flags. And we'll get into the Democratic Party response, as well as we'll be closing out with a story about RFK Jr.'s answer to the measles outbreak, which is absolutely insane. So I'd say we can just go ahead and jump into it. And I guess we'll just start out with the opening. Trump's opening, and we'll dive in, because the opening sort of said it all. Very nationalistic, very Trumpian. It was, in my opinion, a fascistic rant. It was more measured than his rally speeches, for sure, because the State of the Union address, but it was pretty ridiculous. So let's go ahead and hop in. Let's kick it off. And Colin, if you want to go ahead and share the first clip, we'll get this ball rolling.
Members of the United States Congress, thank you very much. And to my fellow citizens, America is back. 6 weeks ago, I stood beneath the dome of this Capitol and proclaimed the dawn of the golden age of America. From that moment on, it has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action to usher in the greatest and most successful era in the history of our country. We have accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years, and we are just getting started.
Sounds ominous, right? Just getting started.
I return to this chamber tonight to report that America's momentum is back, our spirit is back, our pride is back, our confidence is back, and the American dream is surging bigger and better than ever before. The American dream is unstoppable, and our country is on the verge of a comeback, the likes of which the world has never witnessed and perhaps will never witness again. There's never been anything like it. The presidential election of November 5th was a mandate like has not been seen in many decades. We won all 7 swing states, giving us an electoral college victory of 312 votes. We won the popular vote by big numbers and won counties in our country.
We won counties.
And won counties in our country, 2,700 to 525, on a map that reads almost completely red for Republican. Now, for the first time in modern history, more Americans believe that our country is headed in the right direction than the wrong direction. In fact, it's an astonishing record, 27-point swing, the most ever.
I don't think that's accurate. We'll get into that in just a minute.
Likewise, small business optimism saw its single largest one-month gain ever recorded, a 41-point jump.
So, as you guys can tell, that's nationalistic, I think, is what someone described it as in the chat, and I agree. It's very Americana, rah, rah, rah. The cheering from the GOP, every time they would cheer USA, USA, it was creepy to me. I don't know about you guys. It does feel extremely nationalistic. It feels very authoritarian. And even worse than just the feeling of the opening, what he's going to be talking about in this speech are very authoritarian things that we are seeing him already doing with his more than 100 executive orders, with DOGE, with unelected bureaucrats, which he speaks about getting rid of in this in his State of the Union. And the irony is he has an unelected bureaucrat, which he of course, cheers on during this speech. One of the things that he does during the State of the Union that we won't be showing any clips of, he does what I would consider tokenize several families who had lost family members. I know he had Lake and Riley's family there. He had others. He had someone whose family member tragically died, who was a police officer, but it was still the sense similar to his State of Union addresses 4 years ago, if you guys remember, when he would tokenize someone and then utilize that to uphold some very hateful speech. He had someone there who was injured in a volleyball accident and was using that to foment anti-trans hate, which he fomented throughout the speech. So, but let's take a look here. When he talked about the popular vote, it's very similar to, you know, his rhetoric from 2016 to 2020. But we'll take a look here at what Kenneth Vogel has to say. Let's see here. Trump declared that he has a mandate like has not been seen in many decades. He won the popular vote by 1.48%. Biden won the popular vote in 2020 by 4.5%. Obama won the popular vote in 2008 by 7.27%. And I'd also like to point out that the turnout this election season was abysmal. And I know that Jordan had Greg Palast on a few weeks ago. You guys should check out that interview if you haven't. Greg Palast is a journalist who covers election engineering, election voter suppression. And there was a lot of voter suppression this election cycle. And he said the number could be as high as 1.7 million suppressed votes. And that's a considerable number considering that Trump only won by 1.48%. I'd hardly call that a mandate, would you? A mandate to cut our health insurance, a mandate to cut Medicaid, Medicare, our education systems, to fire public service workers at the USPS, to fire park service workers. It's hardly anything that you would consider a mandate. And we're going to go on and talk about, he also, let's see here. He also talked about how he was going to take the Panama Canal near the opening of the speech. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. He brags that that they're going to take the Panama Canal and they're going to utilize the Panama Canal for both sides. So right now, it's a multinational port. Right now, China has access to the Panama Canal. Other countries have access to Panama Canal. It was part of the agreement drafted in the 60s to the 80s regarding the Panama Canal, which evolved over time. And yes, the United States helped build the Panama Canal, but in order for us to keep our partnerships, and that's hard to say considering how much we have meddled in South America already with the banana wars, with our turnovers, our color revolutions there. But the Panama Canal has been an open port. So breaking news today, if you can pull up the screen share for us, Colin. Breaking news today, BlackRock strikes a $23 billion deal to place Panama Canal ports under American control, according to CBS News. The Hong Kong-based conglomerate that operates ports near the Panama Canal has agreed to sell shares of its units that operate the ports to a consortium, including BlackRock Incorporated, after President Trump alleged Chinese interference with the operations of the critical shipping lane, which we know is probably utter BS. It's just an excuse in order to carry out his imperialistic aims, take over the port. And I am going to assume, and this is just my opinion, pressure other countries, pressure China, create more tension, and also drive up tension with China, which would be extraordinarily problematic. In a press release, CK Hutchinson Holdings said Tuesday that it would sell all shares in Hutchinson Port Holdings and all shares in Hutchison Port Group Holdings in a deal valued at $22.8 billion. The two units hold 80% of the Hutchison Ports Group that operate 43 ports in 23 countries, including two of the four major ports that exit along the Panama Canal. The deal will give the BlackRock Consortium control over 43 ports in 23 countries, including Mexico, Netherlands, Egypt, Australia, Pakistan, and elsewhere. The consortium comprised of BlackRock, Global Infrastructure Partners, and Terminal Investments Limited will acquire 90% in Panama Ports Company, which owns and operates the ports of Balboa and Cristobal in Panama, according to the filing. let's see what Larry Fink from BlackRock has to say. And if you guys can remember, Larry Fink also worked with Kamala, which is very interesting. He was actually an advisor and part of her kitchen cabinet when she ran for office. So we can see, you know, what's being carried out. We don't really know if it's just Trump because, and we don't know if the DNC is also involved because Larry Fink is someone who worked very closely with the Harris campaign. So it says here, this agreement is a powerful illustration of BlackRock's and GIP's combined platform and our ability to deliver differentiated investments for clients. These world-class ports facilitate global wealth, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink said in a joint announcement. Through our deep connectivity to organizations like Hutchinson and MSCTIL and governments around the world, we are increasingly the first call for partners seeking patient, long-term capital. We are thrilled our clients can participate in this investment. I bet they are. I bet that they are ecstatic that monopolization is getting expanded even more broadly into BlackRock's hands. Ted Cruz said the situation, I believe, posed a acute risk for national security. So that's interesting that Ted Cruz is fomenting concerns over China. So they're already trying to foment some sort of tariff war, some sort of, well, we already know about the tariffs, but also some sort of war with the ports as well. And this could escalate, and it's extremely, extremely concerning. So what Ben Norton has said about this, Trump helps BlackRock buy Panama Canal ports to weaken China and strengthen Wall Street. And I think that's the best way to put it. And of course, we have BRICS on the horizon. If you guys are not familiar with BRICS, it is an initiative of multiple countries in order to combat the hegemony of the US dollar. So we can be fairly certain that this is tied to weakening BRICS as well. And as Trump mentioned many times in his speech, one of his goals is to strengthen the US hegemony, the US dollar again. And because competition has been rising, our economy has been in decline. And yes, countries like India, countries like China, their dollars have been growing in power and in value. So that's one of the crazy things that's happening. And the BlackRock CEO, one of the interesting things that he had said in a recent interview is that the world is fine. Everything's fine. Everything's going to be great for the shareholders. So Larry Fink was making it clear it's not necessarily going to be great for us. We very well may see price increases across the board if the Panama Canal shipments are hindered, just as we would with tariffs. We are likely to see an abundance of other problems. We are likely to see an escalation with China in tensions and potentially war, if not an all-out war, then a war on essentials and goods, which we don't have the infrastructure to support right now as a country, even though this idea of manufacturing everything at home is a fantastic idea. However, when you have all this wealth concentrated at the top, when companies like BlackRock, Elon Musk, SpaceX, and others are monopolizing the industry, then we're not talking about small businesses. We're not talking about manufacturing cropping up. We're talking about a hegemony in the market that is going to expand even larger when AI starts taking our damn jobs. And that's what's going to happen. And that's what a lot of these companies are shifting and preparing for so that they can be sitting pretty while we're out of work. Let's go on to immigration. Woo! Man, Trump, of course, spread his xenophobia, similar comments that he's always had in the past, and also some just flat out inaccuracies about immigration. If you could play that for us, the
Illegal border
immigration clip.
crossings last month were by far the lowest ever recorded, ever. They heard my words and they chose not to come. Much easier that way. In comparison, under Joe Biden, the worst president in American history, there were hundreds of thousands of illegal crossings a month, and virtually all of them, including murderers, drug dealers, gang members, and people from mental institutions and insane asylums, were released into our country. Who would want to do that? This is my fifth such speech to Congress. And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way. So Democrats sitting before me, for just this one night, why not join us in celebrating so many incredible wins for America? For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
So one thing that's really, man, talking about, and I know that we shared a clip a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you guys remember, but it was the White House shared out a video, and they were calling it an SMR video of chains, someone getting pulled in onto an airplane, just the most inhumane video. It's very, very authoritarian. And Trump's also talking about, and he didn't say it in this speech, but talking about sending migrants, and has started sending migrants to Guantanamo Bay without any kind of civil rights. There is no, they don't have the rights to the, even the immigration court system, which they are supposed to have rights to. There is no due process being implemented. There is no guarantee that these people are criminals. And Trump is dragging people off to Guantanamo Bay. So when he says in that speech, the things I have said and what I am doing is deterring people from coming to the border, that's part of his aim. Scare people. He wants to frighten people from coming to the United States. And I want to show you guys a tweet from Richard Hanea about immigration, the facts, because one thing that they are always talking about is how crime rates are higher for migrants. But there's two things that Trump does not mention here. And those two things are crime rates are actually lower for migrants, for one, per capita, compared to American citizens who have, documented citizens. Secondly, migrants pay in Billions, undocumented migrants pay in billions in taxes every year. They're literally helping to drive our economy in communities. And of course, we want to stop exploitative employment practices. But where the hell does that start? That starts with the employer. And Trump has just gutted the oversight organizations, the NLRB, the NLRB, the EOCC, Equal Opportunity Office, Equal Opportunity Employer, and others that would do oversight against companies, which of course we can say under Democrats, this was pretty damn weak too, right? They were not monitoring companies exploiting migrants. So we want migrants here. We want them to have living wages. We want them to be treated well. But it is an absolute lie that migrants do more crime. Can we pull up that tweet really quick? Or the screen share, Colin? Thank you. Republicans in Georgia passed a law to crack down on illegal immigrant crime. It ended up showing that illegal immigrants are less criminal than natives. Anti-immigration narratives are impervious to facts. Conservatives have the facts on their side on urban crime. None here, which I don't know if I agree with on urban crime. I don't think that that's exactly accurate either, because some of those numbers are also skewed and inaccurate. But here it shows illegal immigrants had lower incarceration rates compared to other demographic groups in Georgia in 2024, so very recently. Illegal immigrants, homicide only, 61%. Legal immigrants and native-born, homicide only, 90. Out of 100,000 residents, not percents. I'm so sorry. Illegal immigrants, homicide only, 61 out of 100,000 residents. Illegal immigrants and native-born, homicide only, 90. Illegal immigrants, all crimes committed, 399. Legal immigrants, native-born, 478. And that's per capita, per 100,000. And on top of Trump saying that he wants to curb immigration, which is classic Trumpisms, right? The fear of the migrants, similar to the Gilded Age, and how we treated people like the Chinese and the Irish that were coming to the United States then as an unwanted class, It was a different kind of white supremacy, but it was still white supremacy then. It was still colonialism. It was still a lot of the same things we're seeing today. Trump's pointing at migrants to blame the economy on, when the real people that are stealing from us are the millionaires and the billionaires, these conglomerates, these CEOs. That's who are taking our money. But what Trump wants to do is Trump wants to bring in more rich people. And he talked about that last night. And he talked about what he called a gold card. And we have a clip of this absolute ridiculousness. Do you care to play that for us?
With that goal in mind, we have developed in great detail what we are calling the gold card, which goes on sale very, very soon. For $5 million, we will allow the most successful job-creating people from all over the world to buy a path to U.S. citizenship. It's like the green card, but better and more sophisticated. And these people will have to pay tax in our country. They won't have to pay tax from where they came. The money that they've made, you wouldn't want to do that, but they have to pay tax, create jobs. They'll also be taking people out of colleges and paying for them so that we can keep them in our country instead of having them being forced out. Number one, at the top school, as an example, being forced out and not being allowed to stay, and create tremendous numbers of jobs and great success for a company out there. So while we take out the criminals, killers, traffickers, and child predators who are allowed to enter our country under the open border policy of these people, the Democrats, the Biden administration, the open border insane policies that you've allowed to destroy our country, we will now bring in brilliant, hardworking, job-creating people They're going to pay a lot of money, and we're going to reduce our debt with that money.
We're gonna reduce our debt with that money. So let's bring more rich people in so the wealth disparity and wealth gap gets even higher while we create all these tariffs that are going to impact the working class, while we get Medicaid, while we get Medicare. I'm all for immigration, but we already have a broken down pay to play immigration system. It already can take people 10, 12 years, and he's going to fast track people. That needs fixed. It shouldn't take people that long. It shouldn't take them thousands of dollars if they want to migrate and they want to be documented legally. And now Trump wants to take and create a gold card, which sounds absolutely absurd, that people pay $5 million to come into the country. And what the hell does he mean, take people out of colleges? What does that mean? Is he talking about hiring people? I'm very confused. Is he talking about H-1B visas? I have no idea. If anyone in the chat knows what the hell that means, let us know. I'll keep an eye out, but I don't know. But I do know that an influx, this is not, I keep thinking about the poem on the Statue of Liberty. What that mean? Give us your weak, your huddled masses, you're tired, you're poor. Trump's like, give us your rich. If you got $5 million, you can purchase it. He is commodifying every aspect of civil life. It's being commoditized, privatized, and now he's even basically privatizing immigration. A $5 million foot through the door. When you have someone who can barely feed their family coming across the border and he's calling them criminals and thieves. It's absolutely ridiculous and astonishing and a complete and total ripoff. Now, speaking of ripoffs and billionaires and rich-ass migrants that have come to the country, let's talk about an unelected official that is the richest man in the world, that is running Doge, Elon Musk. Trump talks a little bit about, well, he talks quite a bit about what he is going to do, how he's going to freeze aid, how he's not going to hire any more government workers, how he is getting rid of all of these government employees, from park rangers to VA nurses to veterans that they're laying off and firing under the DEIA, the abolition of DEIA, which he talked about probably 10 times in this speech last night. The seasoned workers who's been working at their jobs 10, 12 years at the FDA, FEC, at places that actually help us and that we need, the USPS. Let's play that clip really quick, Colin.
Every day my administration is fighting to deliver the change America needs to bring a future that America deserves, and we're doing it. This is a time for big dreams and bold action. Upon taking office, I imposed an immediate freeze on all federal hiring, a freeze on all new federal regulations, and a freeze on all foreign aid. I terminated the ridiculous Green New Scam. I withdrew from the unfair Paris Climate Accord, which was costing us trillions of dollars that other countries were not paying. I withdrew from the corrupt World Health Organization. And I also withdrew from the anti-American UN Human Rights Council. We ended all of Biden's environmental restrictions that were making our country far less safe and totally unaffordable. And importantly, we ended the last administration's insane electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto workers and companies from economic destruction. To unshackle our economy, I have directed that for every one new regulation, 10 old regulations must be eliminated, just like I did in my very successful first day. And in that first term, we set records on ending unnecessary rules and regulations like no other president had done before. We ordered all federal workers to return to the office. They will either show up for work in person or be removed from their job. And we've ended weaponized government where, as an example, a sitting president is allowed to viciously prosecute his political opponent, like me. How did that work out? Not too good. Not too good. And I have stopped all government censorship and brought back free speech in America. It's back. And 2 days ago, I signed an order making English the official language of the United States of America. I renamed the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. And likewise, I renamed, for a great president, William McKinley, Mount McKinley again. Beautiful Alaska. We love Alaska. We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government and indeed the private sector and our military. And our country will be woke no longer. We believe that whether you are a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer, or an air traffic controller, you should be hired and promoted based on skill and competence, not race or gender. Very important. You should be hired based on merit. And the Supreme Court, in a brave and very powerful decision, has allowed us to do so. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have removed the poison of critical race theory from our public schools, and I signed an order making it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. I also signed an executive order to ban men from playing in women's sports.
So that's his idiocracy wheel is what Amanda just says. That's absolutely accurate. So that was loaded, right? There were a lot of things that he spoke about in there. He spoke about cutting agencies. He spoke about DEI. he spoke about rolling back or merit-based hiring, right? Let's talk a little bit about the merit-based hiring. It was just released in Wired today that, let's see, can we pull up the article, Colin, if you don't mind? Thank you. It was just released. Kate Nibbs did a great article about, he tells this lie that Elon Musk is not paid, and they told us at first that big balls and these 20-something-year-old staffers that they brought in, the Elon Musk sycophants, his minions, weren't being paid, right? That they were doing this out of the kindness of their heart. They were getting these positions, but they weren't getting paid. Come to find out, while they're cutting veterans jobs, while they're cutting the USDA, while they're cutting the FDA, while they're cutting critical positions, as well as he's, saying if we have one new regulation, we're going to cut 10 regulations. How stupid is that? Like what freaking regulations? And we'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment as well. So this article says some DOGE staffers are drawing 6-figure government salaries. Engineers and executives at the so-called Department of Government Efficiency are drawing healthy taxpayer-funded salaries, sometimes from the very agencies they are cutting. Some staffers at Elon Musk's so-called Department of Government Efficiency are drawing robust taxpayer salaries at the federal expense. They are slashing and burning. Jeremy Lewin, one of the DOGE employees tasked with dismantling USAID, who has also played a role in DOGE's incursions into the National Institute of Health and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, is listed as making just over $167,000 annually, you guys. Lewins is assigned to the Office of the Administrator within the General Services Administration. Kyle Shute, a software engineer at the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, is listed as drawing a salary of $195,000 through the GSA, where he is assigned to the Office of the Deputy Administrator. That is the maximum amount getting paid, the most that you can get paid, that any general schedule, that means any baseline employee, federal employee, can make annually, including bonuses. This is most you can make, man. You cannot be offered more under any circumstances. The GSA compensation and benefits website reads. So they're paying this guy, this Kyle Shute dude, the most you can make, which is absolutely insane. Nate Kavanaugh, a 28-year-old tech entrepreneur who has taken a visible internal role interviewing GSA employees as part of DOGE's work. Imagine this person who knows nothing about your department interviewing you, is listed as being paid just over $120,000 per year. We're already looking at about $500K here in salaries, right? According to DOGE's official website, the average GSA employee makes $128,000 and has worked at the agency for 13 years. This guy is making nearly the maximum salary and just started, 4 weeks ago? When Elon Musk started recruiting for DOGE in November, he described the work as tedious and noted that compensation is zero. Wire previously reported that the DOGE recruitment effort relied in part on a team of engineers associated with Peter Thiel and was carried out on platforms like Discord. Since Trump took office in January, DOGE has overseen aggressive layoffs within the GSA, including the recent elimination of 18F, the agency's unit dedicated to technology and efficiency. It also developed a plan to sell off more than 500 government buildings. So they're selling off buildings. So a real estate mogul is selling off buildings. Elon Musk is paying his minions top dollar to go in and gut federal jobs that are needed jobs that help keep us safe, like forestry workers that help prevent forest fires, people that work for the National Weather Service that keep us updated on hurricanes and tornadoes and other issues like that, people at the VA that keep our veterans healthy, the USPS that deliver our mail. Although Musk has described DOGE as maximum transparency, it has not made its spending or salary ranges publicly available. Funding for DOGE has grown to around 40 million as of February 20, according to a recent ProPublica report. So that's just one of the ways that they are wasting our money and pocketing it. So he's hired these minions that are his buddies. Musk has people that are sycophantic, these tech bros, and they're getting paid as much as people that have been dedicated public servants for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. It's absolutely insane. How many of you guys want to, we'll take that role, but we won't cut the government, right? Let's all apply for this massive handout. And they want to cut Medicaid, right? They want to cut Medicaid for our grandparents, but yet they're going to give these guys, these tech bro incels, $180,000, $200,000. That's nearly $600,000 in salaries that they found so far. We don't know how much else is getting paid out yet. So let's talk about some staff that's getting cut, since we know that there's a ton of money going out to these DOGE employees. Trump administration dramatically cut staff at water agency in California. The Trump administration has ordered firings and buyouts at the federal agency that operates water infrastructure in Cali, potentially jeopardizing the agency's ability to manage dams and deliver water, according to Central Valley water officials. That's what we need. Cuts to water agencies in California after some of the most historic wildfires we have seen in decades, if not the history of the state that we know of in the modern era. The job cuts at the Bureau of Reclamation were ordered by Elon Musk's so-called Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, according to two Bureau employees with knowledge of the situation who were not authorized to speak publicly. So they're also not being transparent. That's not very transparent. The Bureau, which employs 1,000 employees, is set to lose about 100 employees, so 10% of their staff. But larger workforce reductions are planned, and the Bureau has been ordered to prepare for plans to cut 40% of their staff. We are also seeing this in less oversight on our drinking water, which is something that has been covered on this channel at Status Coup. Jordan did extensive research and was one of the primary reporters that has continued covering the Flint water crisis. He has a book out on it currently, which is really a fantastic book. You guys should check it out. But yeah, we already have limited oversight from the EPA. We've already seen how the EPA handled East Palestine, or didn't send anyone to properly research or handle crises like East Palestine, crises with our water, crises like the lithium power plant battery fire recently. So the EPA is one of the largest agencies to face potential cuts under President Trump's administration. President Trump said Wednesday, after EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin is looking at plans to cut 65% of the workforce at the EPA. So they're gutting an already drained workforce. Now, in that speech, Trump was talking about how the public is super happy, right, about everything that's going on, that everyone's elated, people are excited, that the public is happy. That is not what we're seeing. That's not what we're seeing on the ground. What we are seeing is massive pushback, not only from federal workers, but from communities that are being impacted by these massive sweeping cuts. A teachers union calls for Larry Fink, who we talked about earlier, BlackRock, Fidelity, State Street, and Vanguard to check on Tesla as the stock sinks faster than a Cybertruck in quicksand. I love that headline. The 1.8 million member American Federation of Teachers, so the major teachers union, is taking on Elon Musk and demanding a review of Tesla's valuation by the company's 6 largest institutional investors. In an effort to safeguard its members' retirement assets, AFT head Randy Weingarten reached out to BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, the dude we were talking about earlier, who's making all these investments in BlackRock and in canals all across the country or all across the world. Weingarten cited sales slipping in Europe and California and highlighted competition in the EV market. The American Federation of Teachers, one of the largest labor unions, is tightening the screws on Tesla CEO Elon Musk by reaching out to BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, among other asset manager chiefs, and calling for a review of Tesla's valuations. So teachers aren't just doing this because they're concerned about the market value of, they're not concerned about the market value of Tesla, right? They're doing this as an aims to protest Tesla or to protest Elon Musk. Stocks are falling, so this is one way that they can put some pressure on Musk himself. Kyle Cheney also reported that in that same speech, Trump mentioned that Elon Musk was the head of the DOGE office. And if you guys can remember that DOGE has been claiming for a long time that Elon Musk is not the head of DOGE, that he's just a federal contractor that's basically working for free, but has a federal position, but he's not technically the head of DOGE. Well, there's a notice of new evidence, a motion for expedited discovery that has been filed by Joshua Elrich, the National Security Council, hereby submits new evidence which conclusively demonstrates that the expedited discovery is urgently needed to ascertain the nature of the Department of the Government Efficiency and its relationship to the United States DOGE service, of which Amy Gleason is the acting administrator. So they already have an acting administrator, Amy Gleason, that's supposedly working with Congress, because DOGE was supposed to work directly with Congress. At approximately 9:46 p.m., Trump stated the following in a joint session of Congress. The brand new Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, perhaps you've heard of it, perhaps, which is headed by Elon Musk, who is in the gallery tonight. So that's actually quite hilarious. And there's something that Jordan said that I thought was really funny, because Trump said that he's not the head of DOGE, that he's just this good guy, this good billionaire that doesn't need any money, that is coming, despite the fact that we've covered on the show, I believe it was a couple days ago, how Elon Musk is already taking up contracts. He kicked out I believe it was AT&T for a recent contract, and his Starlink is up for a massive multi-billion-dollar boost. So in some ways, Elon Musk is starting to monopolize government industry that he can with his own products, which of course is pay to play. Of course, these conflicts, he's not some benevolent billionaire. But Jordan said, can you imagine the reaction of Fox News if Obama rode to the State of the Union with Bill Gates? I couldn't. The GOP would be losing their damn mind if Bill Gates or George Soros showed up right next to, somebody like an Obama or Biden rolling up to make the State of the Union address. That just would not be a thing that the Republicans would tolerate at all. And most Americans wouldn't tolerate that either. So on to a little bit more about this, and then we'll move on to some other quotes and some other interesting, if you can call it interesting, some other awful things from this horrible State of the Union address. So Olivia Beavers has reported that RNCC Chair Richard Hudson just very dramatically told members to put down their phones and listen, per a source in the room. He said no one should be doing town halls. You know why? Because hundreds and hundreds of people are showing up at town halls. In a moment, we're going to show you a clip from some of our on-the-ground coverage of some of the protests around this as well. He said no one should be doing town halls, linked it to 2017, and said the protest at town halls and district offices are going to get even worse. You think? I think so. Another congresswoman got up and complained that they've been picketing at her house and targeting her kids, the sources say. So, yeah. The NRCC chair, the chair of the down below kind of the GOP, the chair of the Congressional caucus, the Republicans' Congressional caucus, is saying, don't hold any damn town halls because people are coming at us. We can do it on Facebook or YouTube, but we're not doing any more town halls in person. And what does that tell you? That tells you that this policy from DOGE is having an impact and people aren't liking it because people are showing up. And I'm going to tell you what, we may have some MAGA in the audience right now. We may have some, conservatives in the audience. And I will say this is unpopular for a lot of people across the board because it's impacting communities and it's impacting families in real time. It's thoughtless. It's not thought through the kind of impact that it's having. It's the same kind of energy as we are going to cut 10 regulations if we bring one new regulation in. Arbitrary. That's just a stupid comment to make. Do you have any clips, Colin, from some of John Farina's coverage on the ground? I think it would be great to share some of that because he did get some perspectives from folks some perspective from folks on the ground as to how they're feeling about this and people across the political spectrum as well.
Have you ever seen this level of corruption before?
No, and I am a native-born American, age 85, and I've been paying attention. I have never seen anything like this. And then the treatment of president of our ally of ours, an ally that we promised to protect when they gave up their nuclear arsenal, being crushed by bullies in the White House. Never saw anything like this before.
You gotta kiss the ring. You gotta kiss the ring in order to get what you want in this country for those rich folks. Okay? That ain't working for me, okay? They're getting handouts. They're getting thrown bones. They're getting thrown bones for $1 million. Here's $1 million for your inauguration. Here's a bone. Fuck that.
Any taxes, any tariffs, I'm going to pay. The price of goods are going to go up. And who buys the goods? I do. You do. I don't understand what they think. And a trade war, we're declaring basically war on our best neighbors. And it's frightening. I'm a person that's relying on Medicare and Social Security. I worked my entire life. I didn't retire until I was 75, and these things have just disappeared. So,
you're a veteran?
I'm a veteran, yes.
So that tells you There's veterans. I loved the kiss the ring comment. That was probably my favorite. Hell yeah, she was awesome. She brought great energy. But that is what we're seeing across the country at town halls. We're seeing it at city council meetings. We're seeing protests. We're seeing an uprising that's happening in real time. People are not excited about this. They are not happy. And it goes to show you, if the GOP are wanting to cut out town halls completely, that they're afraid of what it could mean hearing directly from the people, which is who Trump was bombastically saying he's doing all of this to apparently support, which really what he's doing is tax cuts for billionaires. But John Farina did some great reporting on this. You should go check out the live streams, because there's live streams. There's also video clips. And we take it onto the ground. So if you can support Status Coup, you can sign up to be a member at StatusCoup.com. We'll drop that in the link for you. And it would be great if you could sign up, join, $5 a month, whatever you can give. If you are a worker who has lost your job as a federal employee, or it's impacting your community, please let us know. If you're a teacher and your funds have been cut to your school, if you are being impacted from this, we also want to hear from you. You can also go to StatusCoup.com and you can submit tips to us as well, and that's extremely helpful. But please donate, because on-the-ground reporting is expensive. Jordan is out today doing interviews to hire a new on-the-ground full-time reporter so that we can cover the disaster that's happening across the country in real time. We can cover these protests. We can cover more things like what Tina Desiree Berg just covered in California, the latest explosion, the latest fire in the lithium ion battery plant. We can cover more stories like East Palestine. We can cover more stories like we are doing on the ground, like John Farina just covered this week. So it's very important. It can cost thousands of dollars to go on these trips. That $5 a day is what keeps us afloat. We don't take any millionaire money. We don't have any sponsors. We don't have any big dollar donors that are giving us $500,000 to report on what they want. Kind of, thank goodness. But we report on what is happening authentically. We try to bring you the bare news. We try to keep you guys informed. So if you could, please donate. It would help out a lot, especially since we're looking to grow, and grew 200,000 subscribers in the last couple months. So it's great. The community is growing. The channel is growing. That means more news is going to get out there, because God knows we need more journalism, because journalism is going by the wayside. So please help support us. Oh, now we're going to go back to hearing from Trump again. I'm so sorry to put you through this pain, but this is only a 3-minute clip, and this clip is about Social Security. So let's take a listen.
Has estimated annual fraud of over $500 billion in our nation, and we are working very hard to stop it. We're going to. We're also identifying shocking levels of incompetence and probable fraud in the Social Security program for our seniors, and that our seniors and people that we love rely on. Believe it or not, government databases list 4.7 million Social Security members from people aged 100 to 109 years old. It lists 3.6 million people from ages 110 to 119. I don't know any of them. I know some people that are rather elderly, but not quite that elderly. 3.47 million people from ages 120 to 129. 3.9 million people from ages 130 to 139. 3.5 million people from ages 140 to 149. And money is being paid to many of them, and we're searching right now. In fact, Pam, good luck. Good luck. You're going to find it. But a lot of money is paid out to people because it just keeps getting paid, and nobody does, and it really hurts Social Security and hurts our country. 1.3 million people from ages 150 to 159, and over 130,000 people, according to the Social Security databases, are age over 160 years old. We have a healthier country than I thought, Bobby. Including, to finish, 1,039 people between the ages of 220 and 229, one person between the age of 240 and 249, and one person is listed at 360 years of age. More than 100 years older than our country. But we're going to find out where that money's going, and it's not going to be pretty. By slashing all of the fraud, waste, and theft we can find, we will defeat inflation, bring down mortgage rates, lower car payments and grocery prices, protect our seniors, and put more money in the pockets of American families.
Fucking bullshit. It's bullshit. That is just a flat out, utter, and complete fabrication and falsehood. It's not even an inaccurate framing. That money is not going out to those people. Those people are not getting payments. Medicaid fraud accounts for 0.85%, so not even 1%. And you know what most of that is? Most of that, according to the OIG, the Office of the Inspector General, most of that is payments that went out to people the month that they passed away. What ends up happening with almost all of that? People pay it back. People pay it back. They're like, no, my loved one passed away. I'm going to send this back to you. So almost all of that 0.85% is not even, it's paid back to the government. That's just absolute and utter total bullshit. That is all that he's doing, is making an excuse to gut Medicaid. Recently, if you guys, I don't know if you guys caught it, but on Joe Rogan, Elon Musk claimed that he claimed, or this is Social Security. He claimed that, so they're cutting Medicaid too, but he claimed that Social Security was a Ponzi scheme. They're aiming for our grandparents, our parents, and our Social Security. And to act like it's going to somehow come back to us to take away what little Social Security that we pay into, that we already get to help sustain us in this country where it's nearly impossible to get a job now. The unemployment rate is at 23.7%. And I'm working on a story that I'll be giving to Colin tomorrow. That'll be coming out in a couple days, about how at the first DOGE committee meeting, the folks that spoke were representatives of corporations and Republican think tanks that are aiming to specifically gut Social Security and also aiming to implement certain data systems and AI systems similar to what United Health had implemented, where they denied so many claims based on AI certification, for these companies to take billions in our tax dollars to then turn around and deny people, poor people who need assistance, from getting assistance. Let me show you what this really is. I actually have this pulled up here, so I'll give you guys a look of what the real numbers are. So if you want to look at all the numbers, and this is a post I made when I was doing my research on this for an article. If you want to look at the numbers to verify, I'll share the link below. So I did share, sorry. Spouses of retired workers, 99 and over, there's 388 people receiving payments, 99 and over. Parent of deceased workers, 90 plus, 777. and that's parents of workers who, were over 90. Aged widower, 99 and plus, 31,152. So the widower would be that age, but not the person receiving the check, but the person that they're receiving it for. Spouse of disabled workers, 456. That would be the wife of someone who would be categorized as 99 or above. Retired workers total, 99 and above, 89,106. These are the categories that could be counted as possibly being over the age of 110 based or over the age of 90 based on categorization. That's only 100,018,879 recipients, not 18 million, not the numbers that Trump just gave at this speech, because he claimed it was 18 million before, right? 18 million additional people are somehow getting Social Security. No. Also, the file that Musk is referencing when he talked about the 18 million is considered what's called a DMF file. It doesn't show all the death dates because regarding that file, it's handled and reported by the states. So it'll kind of go to this area where it'll default the date of death. And that is where you get these high numbers. These aren't people receiving checks. This is simply a clerical error, not even an error, just where they haven't updated it because the department, the Social Security agency, determined that it would cost $4.9 million just to update this one form, and that it wasn't worth $4.5 million to update this one form. So they decided not to update it. That's where these numbers are coming from. It's coming from a list where the quote unquote deaths are simply a clerical error, basically. Something where people are still counted all the way down the Social Security chain. Deaths are kind of estimated for anyone born before 1921, anyone born after 1921. It's all accurate. But think about how expensive it would be to update everyone's Social Security number before that date, their deaths, their birth dates, all of that information, to have to go to the county clerk's office, to have federal workers to spend money to go to, spend money on federal workers to go and research that. For what reason? Those people aren't with us anymore. These aren't checks that are going out to people. So it's utter bullshit. It's only an excuse to cut our social safety nets. That's it. So there was another response to this. My cats are treating my house like a jungle gym right now. We just got one fixed, so she's being a little crazy. Oh, hi, Ron. It's good to see you. Ron Placone in the chat, also a contributor to Status Coup. It's so good to see you. We're going to play a clip now from Tim Walz. Did you have that one by chance, Colin?
This goes back to our job is our policies are popular. Social Security is popular. Paid family medical leave is popular. The Consumer Protection Financial Bureau that Senator Warren talked about is popular so you don't get ripped off. Why are they citing this guy that is blatantly trying to get himself involved in this? A guy who's lived on government contracts, someone who's given no service to this country, only to himself. We have got to get back to earning the trust, and I think it starts with going in and talking to these folks. Go wherever you can, but then making sure when we have the power to do something, pass some damn laws to improve people's lives. Don't worry about the next election. If we can pass it all the first year, I said that as governor. If I can get everything passed, why would I come back again? You can get it done. And I think we have made a mistake on that. And I just have to tell you, Ari, I disagree with this idea that, look, Republicans are digging a hole. Democrats should back off and just let them dig. That's what we've done, and we've ceded space to them. I say jump in the hole and help them dig, because I'll tell people, I want to go out to these districts and tell them, this is what your member of Congress is voting for. They are undermining you. Bernie Sanders is right. Quit trying to talk about Social Security other than just lift the cap and let everybody pay what they should. That fixes it. It's simple. The idea that Elon Musk doesn't pay any more than a teacher is simply outrageous. How can it be that Donald Trump pays less taxes than folks who are working at schools or hospitals? And we as Democrats need to be more aggressive about it, because tonight will be nothing but, reality TV, because that's what this is to this.
And Tim Walz is right. He's exactly right. The cap on Social Security, you don't have to pay any more in after you make $125,000 a year. So when we're looking at Elon Musk, when we're looking at these billionaires who made billions off of the exploitation of workers, off of cutting back our retirement plans, off of not offering us benefits any longer, not offering us health care, temp work, a gig work. They're making all of this money off of us. They're accumulating all this wealth. They very damn well can pay into Social Security. If you lifted that cap, that would fix the bubble within Social Security, and that would guarantee that every single U.S. citizen would have access to Social Security when they need it, and well-paying, not poverty wage Social Security. So we're going to go on to the next segment here on drill, baby, drill, and talk a little bit about that. This is absolutely insane. Trump is talking about how he's going to rebuild the economy by claiming that no drilling was happening before he was president.
Among my very highest priorities is to rescue our economy and get dramatic and immediate relief to working families. As you know, we inherited from the last administration an economic catastrophe and an inflation nightmare. Their policies drove up energy prices, pushed up grocery costs, and drove the necessities of life out of reach for millions and millions of Americans. They've never had anything like it. We suffered the worst inflation in 48 years, but perhaps even in the history of our country. They're not sure. As president, I'm fighting every day to reverse this damage and make America affordable again. Joe Biden especially let the price of eggs get out of control. The egg price is out of control, and we're working hard to get it back down. Secretary, do a good job on that. You inherited a total mess from the previous administration. Do a good job. A major focus of our fight to defeat inflation is rapidly reducing the cost of energy. The previous administration cut the number of new oil and gas leases by 95%, slowed pipeline construction to a halt, and closed more than 100 power plants. We are opening up many of those power plants right now. And frankly, we have never seen anything like it. That's why on my first day in office, I declared a national energy emergency. As you've heard me say many times, we have more liquid gold under our feet than any nation on earth, and by far. And now I fully authorize the most talented team ever assembled to go and get it. It's called Drill, Baby, Drill. My administration is also working on a gigantic natural gas pipeline in Alaska, among the largest in the world.
It's absolutely insane. So he blames eggs on Biden. I have 1,000,001 criticisms of Joe Biden. I think that he funded a genocide. I think that he did wreck our economy. Our economy was wrecked under the last presidency, and it was not acknowledged, and that was problematic. The Harris campaign refused to acknowledge it. That was terrible. I think that's one of the reasons that they lost. But eggs, the cost of eggs are not because of the Biden administration. It is because of bird flu. Bird flu. That's why eggs are so expensive. And if I can remind everyone, Trump has cut the FDA, the EPA, the USDA, which all oversee production, which all track for diseases, which all take care of the things that could help combat bird flu so that we don't have freaking sick eggs, so that we can correct this problem. He's cut pandemic research, pandemic prevention at the NIH. He's gutted the NIH and he stopped working with the World Health Organization. Now, people can have criticisms of the NIH, the FDA, the EPA, the USDA, but the facts are these organizations do need fixed, but they don't need gutted. They don't need gutted to the point where we're not tracking the freaking bird flu. And that's exactly what has been happening.
Where
You can
Japan,
unpause it now, Colin.
South Korea, and other nations want to be our partner with investments of trillions of dollars each. There's never been anything like that one. It will be truly spectacular. It's all set to go. The permitting is gotten. And later this week, I will also take historic action to dramatically expand production of critical minerals and rare earths here in the USA. To further combat inflation, we will not only be reducing the cost of energy, but will be ending the flagrant waste of taxpayer dollars. And to that end, I have created the brand new Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Perhaps you've heard of it. Perhaps. Which is headed by Elon Musk, who is in the gallery tonight. Thank you, Elon. He's working very hard. He didn't need this. He didn't need this. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Everybody here, even this side, appreciates it, I believe. They just don't want to admit that. Just listen to some of the appalling waste we have already identified. $22 billion from HHS to provide free housing and cars for illegal aliens. $45 million for diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarships in Burma. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of
All right. So I don't think that we're going to share and debunk every single one of those mischaracterizations and lies. Some of them are accurate. Some of them are complete bullshit. But that would be a whole episode in itself to break down that portion. But a few things stuck out there, of course, that they're saving taxpayers' money, which this isn't. This is a huge redistribution of wealth, once again, from the services that are publicly available to us, the services such as I had mentioned before, USPS, Park Services, other regulatory agencies that help to keep our food safe, that help to keep our environment clean. Yes, these agencies need to be overhauled. These agencies are extremely problematic and very corporatized. I agree with that. But gutting them is the opposite of the solution. They need to be reined in and they need to be focusing on the problems that are created by these multi-billion-dollar industries instead of loosening the reins even more, because the loosening of the reins is part of the problem with these organizations. Just like the EPA covering for Norfolk Southern and East Palestine, instead of actually reporting on the conditions there accurately. Those are the kinds of problems that need to be fixed. Not gutting it completely and letting corporations run buck wild. which is what they're suggesting. And I do want to share one article with you guys really quick, and it is on the let's see, you could go ahead and pull it up, Colin. Let's see. The Biden administration drilling permits outpaced Trump. Data from the Interior Department Bureau of Land Management showed it granted 3,377 permits to drill on public lands in 2023. President Joe Biden has approved nearly 50% more oil and gas drilling permits for wells on federal land since taking office than former President Donald Trump did in his first 3 years, according to newly released data from the Interior Department. Trump has sought to cast Biden's climate and energy policies as choking off U.S. oil and gas production, although output of both of those fuels reached record levels last year. But Biden has not trumpeted the permit data, and climate activists have criticized the administration for failing to halt new fossil fuel productions on federal lands. So he actually opened up the Willow Project. He actually opened up the pipelines in Alaska. He actually opened up the Mountain Valley Pipeline, which I don't support because it's poisoning water systems. There's not proper oversight. But drill, baby, drill is exactly what the Biden administration did. Drilling more and opening up more fracking and gas production than we've seen in decades. So that's just a flat out lie on Trump's part. That, in fact, Biden hadn't. It's just bullshit. Again, more of that. So we'll play a really quick clip, and this one's fast, regarding tariffs, and we'll talk about that. And
in addition, as part of our tax cuts, we want to cut taxes on domestic production and all manufacturing. And just as we did before, we will provide 100% expensing. It will be retroactive to January 20th, 2025. And it was one of the main reasons why our tax cuts were so successful in our first term, giving us the most successful economy in the history of our country. First term. We had a great first term. If you don't make your product in America, however, under the Trump administration, you will pay a tariff, and in some cases, a rather large one. Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries. On average, the European Union, China, Brazil, India, Mexico, and Canada, have you heard of them? And countless other nations charge us tremendously higher tariffs than we charge them. It's very unfair. India charges us auto tariffs higher than 100%. China's average tariff on our products is twice what we charge them. And South Korea's average tariff is 4 times higher. Think of that, 4 times higher. And we give so much help militarily and in so many other ways to South Korea. But that's what happens. This is happening by friend and foe. This system is not fair to the United States and never was. And so on April 2nd, I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to be accused of April Fool's Day. That's not, just one day cost us a lot of money. But we're going to do it in April. I'm a very superstitious person. April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs kick in. And whatever they tariff us, other countries, we will tariff them. That's reciprocal, back and forth. Whatever they tax us, we will tax them. If they do non-monetary tariffs to keep us out of their market, then we will do non-monetary barriers to keep them out of our market. There's a lot of that, too. They don't even allow us in their market. We will take in trillions and trillions of dollars and create jobs like we have never seen before. I did it with China, and I did it with others, and the Biden administration couldn't do anything about it because there was so much money they couldn't do anything about it. We have been ripped off for decades by nearly every country on earth, and we will not let that happen any longer.
Now, can tariffs be beneficial? Sometimes. Are there some countries that have some tariffs on some goods that need to be renegotiated? Sorry about that. I have puppers. Yes, absolutely. There are tariffs that need to be renegotiated. But what Trump is talking about is a blanket tariff of, for instance, 25% against Mexico and Canada on all goods, not considering what types of goods could have an impact on the needs and prices for American citizens, for us living in the country, for those of us that are here. Let's take a look really quick. This is really funny because they're already rolling back they're already rolling back this promise here. So this is on X News. Just not that I want to share Muskie's site, but I think it's interesting considering that he's the de facto president of our country to see what kind of news is cropping up over here. Says U.S. to possibly ease tariffs on Canada and Mexico. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick indicated on Tuesday that President Trump might roll back tariffs on Canada and Mexico as early as Wednesday, so as early as today, and there is news already coming out that they have. This potential adjustment follows intense discussions with both countries, officials focusing on achieving a compromise. The tariffs had previously been imposed on February 1st, 2025, leading to retaliatory actions. Canada had already pulled liquor off the shelves. They were coming back very strong with 25% of tariffs as well. And countermeasures, similar strong response from Canada and from Mexico. I don't think that he expected that. Now, like I said, could there be some places where tariffs need to be compromised? Hell yeah, of course. Blanket tariffs of 25% is ludicrous. It's very shallow. It's, idiocracy level way of handling. It's taking a flame torch to something that needs a scalpel. Let's go ahead and this will be the last clip that you guys will have to endure. There was a whole hell of a lot that happened in this State of the Union address, but I think that the last clip kind of covers some of the biggest things. If there's other things in the chat people want to mention, definitely super chat in or chat it up and we'll mention it. But these are just some of the highlights we wanted to report on that was tied to current legislation that was happening or current activities that were happening right now out from his ridiculous rant last night.
And I also have a message tonight for the incredible people of Greenland. We strongly support your right to determine your own future. And if you choose, we welcome you into the United States of America. We need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security, and I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it. We will keep you safe. We will make you rich, and together we will take Greenland to heights like you have never thought possible before. It's a very small population, but very, very large piece of land and very, very important for military.
More of the Greenland stuff. So we're going to take Panama. We're going to take Greenland. Of course, Gulf of New Mexico is now Gulf of America. This is more ridiculous nonsense. But let's hear from the Green. And one thing that really stuck out to me in that clip or that quote was that he said one way or another. What the hell does that mean? That's a little bit ominous, don't you guys think? One way or another, we're going to have Greenland because we need it for our own national security. What he's talking about there are military bases, right? And I'm sure mining are the two things that, his goals there. Well, let's take a look at what the Prime Minister of Greenland had to say. Greenland Prime Minister responds to Trump speech. Let's see here. Greenland's Prime Minister Moot Borup, I do not know how to pronounce that. Edgi? Did I butcher it? I apologize if I did. Rejected President Trump's claim in his sweeping address Tuesday night that the U.S. was going to get control of Greenland. We need Greenland for national... Well, you guys already heard that. Kalat Nuat said Greenland in the Greenlandic language. She said, it's ours. Edgy wrote on social media, we don't want to be Americans nor Danes. We're Kalat. The Americans and their leader must understand that. We are not for sale and we cannot simply be taken. Our future will be decided by us in Greenland. Mr. Trump has brought up taking control of Greenland before, which is located on the northeast of Canada and is largely covered by Greenland ice sheet, the largest island in the world, but the home to around 60,000 people. So there's not a whole lot of people in Greenland. The direction of Greenland wants to take will be decided by Greenlanders, Polson said. So, no. Greenland, in fact, does not want, and polling has showed that the majority of Greenlanders do not want to be part of the United States. So he can push for this ridiculous pageantry of American imperialism, but it's not going to happen. I will also note that even though I'm not sharing a clip from it, one of the things that stuck out to me was his talking about protecting the police, which was similar language to what it's similar pageantry and language to Joe Biden. I remember the State of the Union, or I remember the address, the speech that Biden did. It wasn't a State of the Union where everything was red behind him and he had all these police around him and he was talking about keeping our police forces strong. Trump hints also at getting rid of qualified immunity laws to protect that, protect police in issues such as Derek Chauvin, which Elon Musk tweeted out yesterday. Oh, interesting. When Ben Shapiro said pardon Chauvin, and Musk said, oh, interesting. And Derek Chauvin was the police officer. Trying to find it here for you. If I can find the tweet. Derek Chauvin, I can't find it right now, but Derek Chauvin was the police officer that held his knee down on the head of George Floyd, on the neck of George Floyd, killing George Floyd. And the right is now tweeting out, of course, pardon Derek Chauvin, which is absolute insanity. So, yes, there is this trend toward qualified immunity, which isn't surprising to me because there is an extremely fascist government that we have in office right now, and it's accelerant even compared to Biden's crackdowns and Biden's militarization of the police. We're going to be seeing likely even more of that. Let's talk a little bit about what happened with the Democratic Party's response, and that's sort of how we'll be closing things out tonight, and then we'll be covering very briefly kind of JFK's or RFK Jr.'s ridiculous plan when it comes to the measles outbreak. Do you have the clip from Senator Slotkin, Colin, by any chance?
President Trump loves to say peace through strength. That's actually a line he stole from Ronald Reagan. But let me tell you, after the spectacle that just took place in the Oval Office last week, Reagan must be rolling in his grave. We all want an end to the war in Ukraine, but Reagan understood that true strength required America to combine our military and economic might with moral clarity. And that scene in the Oval Office wasn't just a bad episode of reality TV. It summed up Trump's whole approach to the world. He believes in cozying up to dictators like Vladimir Putin and kicking our friends like the Canadians in the teeth. He sees American leadership as merely a series of real estate transactions. As a Cold War kid, I'm thankful it was Reagan and not Trump in office in the 1980s. Trump would have lost us the Cold War. Donald Trump's actions suggest that in his heart, he doesn't believe we're an exceptional nation. He clearly doesn't think we should lead the world. Look, America is not perfect, but I stand with the majority of Americans who believe we are still exceptional, unparalleled. And I would rather have American leadership over Chinese or Russian leadership any day of the week. Because for generations, America has offered something better. Our security and our prosperity, yes, but our democracy, our very system of government, has been the aspiration of the world. And right now, it's at risk.
So I won't show you guys the whole clip. I mean, there's some. Slotkin is a new senator in Michigan, and she was the one who was curried to do the response. Bernie Sanders did the response as well, which is boilerplate Bernie. But I have my own opinions on some of Bernie's actions and criticisms of him as well in the past. But his reaction was spot on. Slotkin's was more of the failed neoliberal strategy. We're the 1990s Republican strategy that Kamala Harris ran on. She's rehabilitating Reagan. You think rehabilitating Reagan is going to get people energized? We're staring down the barrel of fascism. We're already there. Our government is being stolen by billionaires and oligarchs who are trying to widen the wealth gap, bring in the new Gilded Age. They're the new robber barons of today, and they're bragging about it. They're like, take us back to the 1800s. Maybe child labor is a good idea, you guys. And we got Slotkin out here basically doing a neoliberal PowerPoint presentation about how awesome Ronald Reagan was. Give me a damn break. And the response to this was strongly negative. People they hated it. And there was a reason. She did not meet the moment with what we had just heard from Donald Trump, the absurdity. Kamala Harris's campaign failed in part because she was offering no real economic solutions, and neither did Slotkin in her speech. Neither did Trump, really, but she didn't either. She ends it on, Reaganomics led us here, is what Thomas Cross said. Exactly. Reagan is the one who started dismantling everything. He's the one that brought in the Heritage Foundation and helped found it. Project 1985 was the bellwether for Project 2025. He set it up to where we have these tech monarchs now, like the Sam Altmans of the world and the Elon Musks of the world and the Peter Thiels of the world that were able to amass so much wealth. He is the one that he increased massive tax breaks for corporations. Reagan also gutted social safety nets, which Bill Clinton then went and carried out the rest of the Heritage Foundation's plan at the time, basically. They gutted oversight. Before Reagan, shareholders of a corporation had to give their workers at least 50% ownership of the corporation in order to be a publicly traded company. That's what the hell publicly traded meant. It was owned by the workers, by the workforce. That's how a lot of boomers, were fairly well off, because they had stocks in things like IBM and AT&T because of those laws. But he repealed Glass-Steagall. Well, Bill Clinton repealed Glass-Steagall. He started it, which monitored shareholder profits and helped to ensure workers' rights. What the hell are you doing, Slotkin? Why are you rehabilitating the man who helped get us in this position? First, the Democratic Party and DNC decide to rehabilitate war criminal Dick Cheney. Now they're rehabilitating Reagan. What are they going to go and they're going to, run a hologram of Reagan for president in 2028? This shit is ridiculous. And I'll tell you a little bit about Slotkin. She's from an extremely corporate wealthy family. She served in the CIA. And then she went and served immediately after with the Bush administration. So there is nothing left about her whatsoever. She is essentially Republican. But they keep pandering to this mythological base of like centrist right wingers that are going to come over to the Democratic Party. But the Democratic Party has now they lost 15% of their voter rolls. 15% of people registered as Democrats are no longer registered as Democrats after this last election cycle. Their party has shrank. So, yes, some news articles came out saying polling is showing that the Democratic Party is moving to the right. No, the people that they have left are, but their party has deflated. They're dying. They're no longer strong. They're bleeding support, and they're bleeding support because of bullshit like Slotnick rehabilitating Reagan, giving us a PowerPoint presentation because she doesn't really want to address what the fascism is, because if she addresses what this corporate oligarchical fascism is, she has to acknowledge the donors that are giving the billions and billions to the Democratic Party are the ones who are partially responsible. They have to call out their donor base, and they're not going to do that. They have to talk about what is keeping them wealthy. This is a class divide. This is a class warfare, and the Democratic Party is landing on the wrong side of the fence. Let's take a look too at this is do you have the clip of Al Green being removed from the floor by any chance, Colin? I wasn't sure if you were able to pull that up.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions. That's your warning. Members are engaging in willful and continuing breach of decorum, and the chair is prepared to direct the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order to the joint session. Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber. Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House.
So if you guys have ever watched a State of the Union address under Obama, under Biden, even under the former Trump administration, heckling happens. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert were showing their full selves on display. Heckling Joe Biden every single State of the Union he had. I remember several representatives yelling him down. But this decorum bullshit that they're pulling is beyond that. This is straight up fascism. That's what this is. Removing a member of Congress because they are quote unquote breaking decorum. This is unprecedented. It hasn't happened before. Several other Democrats were removed as well. Now, I have 1,000,001 criticisms of the Democratic Party. I'm about to criticize them right now for their response to the State of the Union address. But what just happened was fascism. It is a double standard and a blatant double standard. And I know you guys have seen the heckling before. If you've ever watched a State of the Union address, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's always happen. And, someone else pointed out, it may have been Holly Horn, I think, pointed out that is clapping and cheering and screaming USA. They were screaming amen and shouting USA and shouting things. The GOP were shouting things at Trump the entire time, but that's not breaking decorum. However, Representative from Texas, Al Green, in his 70s, somehow broke decorum, because what he yelled is, and I want you guys to know this, was, you do not have a mandate to remove Medicaid. There is no mandate to cancel Medicaid. And what Al later said is, I'll accept the punishment, but it's worth it. It's worth it to let people know that there are some of us who are going to stand up against the president's desire to cut Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. And I appreciate at least doing some damn thing, because the Democrats are pretty feckless right now, and Slotkin's response was lackluster and horrible. So yeah, more of that energy is needed, not less. And let's take a look here at some of the responses. Jamal Bowman said the Dems should have left with all the Dems should have left with Al Green. I agree with Bowman. And Bowman was unseated because of his criticisms of Israel and Israel's war crimes. AIPAC spent millions of dollars. The Israel lobbies spent millions of dollars to unseat Jamal Bowman. But he's not wrong here. All the Dems should have left with Al Green. But instead, they got really quiet. And they sat in their seats very quietly, holding up signs and rolling their eyes. Is that the energy that we need? I don't think so. Ken Klippenstein also pointed out some Democratic members protesting Trump by wearing pink outfits. This was supposed to be a woman empowerment moment. Do you remember when they wore white when Roe v. Wade was reversed, and then we had the whole pink pussy hat marches and quote unquote resist episode 2025 is even worse than it was. This is straight up Hillary Clinton style resist movement, and we're staring down, as I had mentioned before, we are in fascism. Trump is gutting all of our social safety nets. The GOP are gutting our social safety nets in order to hand it to billionaires, in order to make Musk a trillionaire. There is an unelected billionaire, the richest man in the world, running our government right now. And his cronies are making what? $800,000 that we know of? And this is the Democratic Party's response. And I loved, I got to give a little shout out to The Daily Show. Fun fact, Democrats are wearing pink tonight as a symbolic protest against people who want them to do something meaningful. Yes. I don't know, but Jon Stewart's been kind of on fire lately. And I absolutely loved that comment. I thought it was hilarious. And it's true. And it is kind of funny. But it's also infuriating. Do something. Do something. Raise some hell. Where are the muckrackers? Where are the hellraisers? There were some people that protested the event. I think AOC protested the event, for instance, and just didn't go. But where was their solidarity for Al Green? Where were they when Trump fascistically said, and Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, said, we are going to remove anyone who opens their mouth on this side of the aisle. We're going to remove you if you open your mouth. But over here, my buddies can raise all kinds of hell, cheer, clap, yell amen, scream. Ridiculous. Absolutely just a shit show and embarrassing for the Democrats. Feckless, and that's where the party is right now. Say the best we can do is keep pressuring, keep showing up, keep going to the town halls, show up, protest, boycott, do union organizing. We're going to have to organize our own communities because the Democratic Party ain't coming to save us. Not that I expected them to, but guys, it's not going to happen. Let's go on to our last little segment here. Little but big. This is ridiculously insane. So RFK Jr. is now saying that the way that we can treat measles, the measles outbreak, is with vitamins and cod liver oil, not vaccines. Health officials in New York and New Jersey have identified several new cases. So now it's in New York, New Jersey, coming amid an outbreak of highly contagious viral disease in Texas with 159 cases, 22 hospitalizations, and one child recorded since January. Fears of a wider epidemic have grown after Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. initially downplayed the outbreak, then promoted alternative treatments rather than vaccination to combat measles. In an interview that aired on Fox News Tuesday, Kennedy did not mention vaccines once, but said his agency was sending doses of steroids, antibiotics, and supplements to combat the measles outbreak. Now, can supplements sometimes be helpful in some cases? Yes, of course. Of course they can. But supplements instead of promoting supplements instead of tracing this, supplements instead of getting the National Health Organization, which they have now gutted, the NIH, instead of getting it involved, instead of doing I just saw something breaking, which I'll share with you guys as well. But and then we'll close out. But the instead of addressing it in a systemic way to combat it, to trace it, to figure out how we can combat it, and saying, yes, we probably need to get some measles vaccines out there, it's cod oil, supplements, and antibiotics. We're screwed, you guys. We're screwed. And this is the guy running our health agency. This is the guy that's going to be making all of the decisions for us. And this is how he is handling a disease that is spreading quickly and killing our children. One in which I will say he also helped to foment and create this problem by spreading propaganda and inaccuracies about vaccines. Do I think that big pharma should be questioned? Yes. Do I think that there should be stricter mandates on big pharma? Yes. But the things that he has been challenging are things that have been heavily investigated. And I will say one more thing that Trump kind of floated in his whole State of the Union address was that we don't know what caused spikes in the amount of people now claiming to have autism or being diagnosed with autism. Yes, we do. More people are being diagnosed because more people are being evaluated. I was evaluated at 30 and I was diagnosed. My child was evaluated at 9 and diagnosed. More people are being diagnosed with autism because more of us are getting screened with autism, especially women. So yes, numbers have risen that are being accounted for, not necessarily the percentage of people. And this is the kind of stupid logic. It's stupid. There is no logic to it. It's just talking out your butt. And that's what they're doing. Breaking news, and this just came out today. I'll share this and then we'll close out. I know Colin's probably like, I'm ready to get some grub. We'll share this really quick. So on another thing that Trump talked about was the complete freezing of what? Federal workers, government aid, foreign assistance. and freezes on other policies. Basically, essentially a shutdown of the entire government, right? Well, the Supreme Court today backed a federal judge's power to order the Trump administration to pay $2 billion to USAID contractors, but did not require immediate payment. In doing so, the court, on a 5-4 vote, rejected an emergency application filed by the Justice Department after a U.S. District Judge, Amir Ali, issued a series of rulings demanding the government unfreeze funds. I'm sure we're going to see a million posts from Elon Musk talking about how these judges need to be impeached. I don't know if he'll say that about SCOTUS, but that's all we've been seeing for 3 weeks is the right wing saying that we need to completely dismantle the Justice Department. They don't understand checks and balances that the president, Donald Trump, put on hold with an executive order. So his executive order, they have deemed that the current contracts that are being paid out needs to be paid out, and the food and the things that are in holding that are just sitting there needs to be distributed. So this is actually good news in a way. Yes, I think USAID did a lot of things that are questionable. Yes, it needs to be put on check. But again, it is the way these things are happening. It is the age research. It is the health care that's not going out to people. It is the food that is not going out to people that people need in countries that we have helped to decimate their economies. Yes, we need to stop meddling, but also cutting off food to the only food this population has is not okay. And it also impacts American farmers who were not getting payouts. It impacts American workers who weren't getting payouts, a lot of which were small businesses, and as I had mentioned, a lot of which were farmers. The court delayed acting on the case for a week. In the meantime, the contractors have not been paid. In an unsigned order, the court said that Ali's deadline for the immediate payment had now passed, and the case is already proceeding in the district court with no more rulings to come. As such, Ali should clarify what obligations the government must fulfill in order to comply with a temporary restraining order issued February 13th, the court said. Ali should consider the feasibility of any compliance deadlines. The court also added. Ali had already scheduled a hearing for Thursday, and after the Supreme Court ordered, he also asked the government to file a status report on how it will comply with his earlier order. 4 conservative judges dissented from the denial of the application, with Justice Samuel Alito writing that Ali did not have unchecked power to compel the government to pay out $2 billion in taxpayer dollars. Let me remind you that even though my animals just knocked over my light, but let me remind you guys that yes, federal judges actually do have the power on how the administration utilizes federal funds that have been legislated by the legislative branch, by the House and Senate. They do have power over saying, okay, Congress has legislated this money to be paid. So yes, as POTUS, as President of the United States, as the executive branch, you have to do what Congress mandated because your job is to execute, not to make the laws. Other dissenters were Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, and Brett Kavanaugh. Surprise. The government had said it was unable to comply with Ali's order earlier this week that the $2 billion in payments made by last Wednesday night for the payments to be made by Wednesday. Specific projects affected by the payment freed include the installation of new irrigation and water pump stations in Ukraine, water works upgrades in Lagos, Nigeria, the supply of medical equipment in Vietnam and Nepal, and measures to combat malaria in Kenya, Uganda, Ghana, and Ethiopia. In the meantime, the administration has worked fanatically to review all of USAID's existing spending. It recently concluded assessments conferring a decision to cut thousands of programs, the bulk of the agency activity, worth up to $60 billion. So we are seeing some pushback from judges, and as I had mentioned, yes, some things can definitely be called at USAID. I am glad to see some things being called, but what is being reported on is very inaccurate, such as the 80 million in condoms to Gaza, which ended up being reproductive help to African nations. Had nothing to do with Gaza. And it wasn't just condoms. We've seen a lot of misreporting regarding U.S. aid. And yes, we don't want the programs that are specifically for American imperialistic aims in foreign countries, such as swaying elections like we did in Venezuela. But some of those programs are getting absorbed into the State House or into the State Department. They're gutting the aid to poor people. They're gutting healthcare programs, but they're going to fold in the programs that, quote unquote, maintains United States soft power across the globe into the State Department. They're not gutting those. They're gutting the programs that feed kids. Or they're talking and exaggerating like, the Iraqi Sesame Street or whatever. So that's what's been going on, and it was a crazy State of the Union address. If you can, please like and subscribe. If you're new here, did we have any super chats, Colin? Thank you so much, Philip Blair, for donating one gifted membership. We appreciate it. CB, how's it going? Why are you covering DOGE instead of the billions of dollars of corruption and laundering that DOGE is uncovering? This is a CNN narrative. Is Status Coup indie? We have covered some of what they have, quote unquote, been uncovering. And I know I've personally done some reporting on it as well. Some of it has been uncovered on Status Coup, but there is a lot of misinformation that has to be waded through. There's not a lot of transparency. If you go to DOGE's website, you can't read exactly what the contracts are for. You can find them on USA Spending. It was already transparent. It was already available on US Spending. Anyone could go and see it. There were already reports from the OIG on things that were over expenditures, things that can be called and cut. So yes, some of it's accurate, but a lot of it's not. And that has to be waded through. And we have done quite a bit of that coverage on here. But yes, some's accurate, some are not. Some are narratives and propaganda. CB again. Elon has $355 billion. He doesn't need government contracts or anything else the mainstream media is trying to sell you in the propaganda. Thanks for the super chat, CB. I will have to disagree because he is now taking billions in federal contracts, and he has just pushed out, let me look it up real quick. There was a contract for Starlink. He fired the people at the Consumer Federal Protection Bureau that were investigating him. He fired the people from the FDA that were investigating and doing oversight. He currently receives almost $22 billion in government contracts for SpaceX alone. That doesn't include subsidies and corporate welfare that he gets for Tesla. That doesn't include corporate welfare and subsidies he gets for his other programs, such as his AI programs that he's launching and trying to pitch the government to buy in federal contracts to. He is a welfare baby. He is a welfare baby. He is a welfare recipient. And he has now attacked a company that is a competitor for $2.4 billion in FAA contracts in order to send Starlink, in order for Starlink to get the contract for FAA monitoring for flights, which his company isn't even necessarily equipped to do yet. So he's trying to beat out Verizon, which I know Verizon is somewhat of a monopoly as well, but he's trying to beat out Verizon and has an edge That is a conflict of interest. That is a massive conflict of interest. So his business, Starlink, can get the FAA contracts. $2.4 billion worth of FAA contracts. The guy has openly stated he wants to be the first billionaire in the country. So, yeah, it's problematic. Also, he had a $400,000 contract with Tesla that was increased to a $4 million contract for Tesla, which isn't, or a $400 million contract. So 1,000-fold. No, he directly benefits from the decisions he's making in Doge. And he wants to go to Mars. He wants to become a trillionaire so he can go to Mars and create his own godly colony. But thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate it. Do we have any more? Philip Blair, we love Status Coup News. We love you too, Philip. Thank you so much. Wanker Tanker, it's so good to see you. Lemon character lifting baby lemon in the air to congratulate him. Oh, that's what I thought it was a super chat. That's what the that's what the super sticker is. Okay, gotcha. Philip Blair, because of PTSD, average autistic American life expectancy is only 36. American Journal of Public Health 2017. We need FDA to lift MDMA assisted treatment ban. I would love to see the assistant treatment or the treatment bans on MDMA lifted. I will give you some positive news, though. That statistic isn't exactly accurate. But yeah, we do have a lot of health issues that come along with having autism, unfortunately. See, Wanker Tanker, it used to be law that no corporation could own another corporation and all sorts of other neat stuff. Yep, exactly. Guess who undid that? Reagan. Somebody tell Slotnick. Jane Ann Morris. Okay. Is that the last of them?
Yeah, that's all of them.
All right. Sweet. Thank you, Colin. Well, you guys can go to StatusCoup StatusCouNews.join and help support us. $5 will help get us there. Please like this video. Please share. Please help pay Colin's salary because he's been amazing. I'm just kidding, Colin, but he is awesome. He does yeoman's work here, and he works just about every day of the week and almost all day. And he's amazing and awesome. We would not be here without him. Please help us hire more on the ground journalists. Help keep us afloat, and help join us today. And also subscribe. Thank you guys so much.